Oh boy, trending right now that KJP, Karine, left a giant stain on the press secretary job. And let's just be honest. This entire administration has left a giant stain on the entire country. And I wouldn't even say stain. We're going to have to do some deep cleaning. But oh boy. An absolute disgrace. Lie after lie after lie. Throw that big binder in the middle of the street. Throw that binder on the freeway.
It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Okay. Let me go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
You've also said several times that the president would not pardon or commute the sentences for his son, Hunter. I just want to make sure that that is not going to change over the next 6 months. The president's saying he would not.
It's still a no. It's still a no.
It will always be a no.
It's still a no. It will be a no. It is a no. And I don't have anything else to add. Will he pardon his son? No. Israelis and Palestinians can live securely side by side in a lasting peace with equal measures of safety, opportunity, and dignity. Now, moving on to the hurricane.
Oh,
President
I can't.
Biden and Vice President Harris continue to use every tool available to help communities.
Oh, unbelievable. Y'all remember this one? When she stormed out with this big old suit on? This big old suit.
To the impacted areas. But instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to send Lebanon right now?
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to. People are deciding not to.
Wait. To Congress that there's not enough money to help people.
We're talking about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important, and people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together, they provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation. Would you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There's money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding. That's
exactly what I just asked about. And you said
no. What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
Look at her storm out with that big binder and that big suit on. Unbelievable. What a disgrace, man. What a disgrace.
To Hawaii while DNC staffers are just wondering what they're going to do for work?
The vice president has taken time off to go spend time with her family. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think she deserves some time to be with her family and to have some downtime. She has worked very hard over the last 4 years, and her taking a couple of days to be with her family.
Yeah, her and Joe have worked very hard these last 4 years. The Biden-Harris ticket has worked very hard these last 4 years. The Bidenomics is working. We've done such an amazing job. It was a cheap fake, a deep fake. Where is that clip? Do we have that clip? Can we please pull that clip up on the screen? The cheap fake, a deep fake? A cheap fake, a deep fake. Biden falls down, cheap fake, deep fake. He wanders off. He forgets he's over here. He said this and that. He mispronounces somebody's name and miss doesn't know where he's at or what's even going on. What they told him was supposed to happen. He didn't forgot. Sprinkles on the floor, strawberry ice cream on the floor, vanilla ice cream on the floor. It's a cheap fake, a deep fake.
That was, as I said, it was a cheap, a cheap fake. That was definitely a cheap fake. It was. This was widely fact-checked. That video was widely fact-checked, including by conservatives media, on what happened, what occurred. The president walked over to give a thumbs up to divers who had just landed right in front of him, and if you run that tape a little bit longer, you would see what was happening, what the president was actually doing, and it is a cheap fake. That is what.
About nothing, and he's totally normal.
What I'm saying is, this is a president, right? Let's step back for a second. Instead of, and I said this moments ago, instead of Republicans, focusing on the president's performance in office and what he's been able to accomplish, his actual record, they do these cheap fakes. They're cheap fakes. And you're asking me about the Maloney, you're asking me what happened. That video was, okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. The president stood there listening to the music and he didn't dance. Excuse me, I did not know not dancing was a health issue. That is a weird thing to actually flag when if you look at the people who are around him, you look at the expanded video of the people who were around him, they were not. There were some folks who were not dancing either, and that has been fact checked. I mean, just because you're standing up listening to music and not dancing, that is not a health issue.
This minute, what a disgrace. This is bigger than a stain. This is bigger than a giant stain. Yeah. Yeah. They could have sent OkayRickk up there and I would have did a way better job. I mean, I would have kept it real. I mean, they would have sent me up there and I wouldn't even need a binder. I'm just telling you now, Rick wouldn't even need a binder. That big old binder, I wouldn't even need it. But man, she ought to be ashamed of herself, man. How not to do your job 101. This administration has been dog lie after lie. But hey, it was a cheap fake. So, I couldn't wait to get into this. You see the title? KJP left a terrible stain on the press secretary job. See what they're talking about.
So President Biden is traveling, or he went to Africa, to Angola, and we reported yesterday, we were told that KJP wouldn't be having a press briefing. She was on the plane on Air Force One. So some of the reporters did ask her some questions about the pardoning. Exactly. And so we have some sound from her. We don't have a video of her because she is on the plane. But this is what she said about the reason that President Biden pardoned his son.
Does the president believe now and agree with President-elect Trump that the justice system has been weaponized for political purposes and that it needs root and branch reform.
No, read the president's statement. Seriously, read the president's statement. He said he believes in the Department of Justice. He does. He also believes that raw politics infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. He believes his son was unfairly targeted. He said that what his political opponents have done to my son, that's his words, is cruel and enough is enough.
Does she lie? Yeah, she just makes stuff up.
Yeah, she's saying that politics have gotten involved in the justice system, which they lauded as believing in the justice system. You can't believe in the justice system and say politics got involved in the justice system and it's affected this case. That means it affected David Weiss, who you left on the job. That, affected the deal that fell apart because an unbiased judge looked at it and said, I've never seen anything like that. And everyone.
Y'all seen the beginning of the video. It's just been, that's what it's been with this minute. It's just been a show, a circus, lies, a Ponzi scheme. I'm just being real, man.
They couldn't. Which is so amazing is she's got to be embarrassed because she was assured over and over again this pardon wasn't coming. Senator Michael Bennet, upset by it, by Biden's decision, put personal interest ahead of duty. Democrat Gary Peters, President Biden's decision, pardon his son was wrong. Senator Peter Welch, President Biden's pardon of his son is the action of a loving father, understandable, but the action of our nation's chief executive is unwise. It goes on and on and on. And I just think about all those people that went to bat for the paragon of justice and ethics and saying how great Joe Biden was for not pardoning his son. Now have to sit there and say, after he pardoned his son, man, don't I look stupid? And if you got to Daily Show last night, even that was, if that is the one thing that stood out, I didn't realize how many were taking a bow for Joe Biden's noble stand, which we all knew he was going to reverse because, of course, he was not going to let his son go to jail.
I just think the line here is just stunning. And we talk about all the former Trump admin people, how they struggled. Typically after you've worked in the White House, you get these big corporate jobs. It's just the way of things. How does she get a job after the constant lying over and over again? Even in that moment, she just makes up what's in the statement. The statement did not say that. Right. And then number two, this is 2 times where the president has been at odds with his Department of Justice. The first time was when the special counsel said, essentially, he cannot stand trial because he's mentally incapable to stand trial, right? And his attorney general allowed that to happen. This is the next time when his Department of Justice said that it was time to bring charges against his son, and he's now saying that his Department of Justice is political. The question is, will we hear from the Attorney General on this? Where is his statement on this? He's taken on his department. Will he defend his men and women?
Well, we've heard from David Weiss, the special counsel, and he says, it wasn't political. A grand jury returned an indictment, and that's why we proceeded with this.
He bragged about this in his book.
Yes.
He writes that he did this.
Right. We all knew that Joe Biden was going to pardon a full and unconditional pardon for Hunter. We knew that. We knew that for over a year. But for KJP looks terrible. And here's the thing. She said she has been emphatic. She's positive. No pardon, no pardon, no pardon. She has told that lie. Maybe she could rationalize it as Joe's lie for years. If she had any standards, as soon as she heard the president was going to pardon his son, she should have quit. She could have gone out on a high note. Instead, she is part of his legacy of lies, and it is a terrible stain on the press secretary for the White House, for the United States, for her to be a conduit for so many mistruths.
Okay, if you work for someone and they keep telling you, say this, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pardon. You go out there in front of the entire world and you repeat what he told you. You trust him to be honest.
Right.
So then when he says, okay, I'm going to pardon, if I were KJP and I were in the room, I would say, respectfully, sir, I can't go out there and say, well, we're blaming it now on politics and blah, 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 because you already put me in a position to say no. I would say he changed his mind. He already lost one son, and now you'd have to be honest. You'd have to say,
tell us not to believe what we're reading. And
Just them Democrats. Them Democrats can't be honest, though. Them Democrats can't be honest. Throw the gun out in the middle of the street. one in the chamber, you know, throw the laptop out in the middle of the street, you know. We can't be honest. We can't beat people fair and square. So we got to have them kangaroos jumping on the freeway. We got to, you know, but we got the instead of throwing the banana peels out in the trash can, we got to throw the banana peels. We got the litter and throw it in the street. Yeah, that's what them Democrats do. People enriching themselves. People paid off. You know, nobody's doing their job. The border's wide open. We're gonna send money way over here. I'm telling you now. You know, and don't know where the trillions went. Don't know where the 300,000 kids went. I mean, it's just a scam. I want my tax dollars back. Who is running the country? They gotta be ashamed of themselves. It's just a corrupt scam matrix. And the Democrats have made it even worse. The corrupt scam matrix.
And the other thing is, Steve, I think you're right. She should have resigned, but she's been lying for 3 years when she said that the president is healthy mentally.
Of course.
That he's been
I call for. I'm saying for.
working 10 hours a day, that he outworks us all and we can't keep up
Run
with him.
circles around.
That is no one told her to say that. She is just saying, I'm going to lie every day about what is actually going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in the Oval Office. And
yeah, that is a cheap fake, a deep fake, and that he is sharp as a tack, and he will run laps around everybody.
Nothing. I'm surprised there's no cobwebs because he has not been running the country.
Well, you know, ultimately, Ainsley, it doesn't sound like KJP tried to talk Joe Biden out of the pardon, but there are stories now circulating that it sounds like Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, maybe actually was pushing.
Doctor. And I'm sick of them saying it too. I don't even like when Republicans say it or whoever said Dr. Jill. They say Joe was getting he was doing his physicals and his daily checkups with Dr. Jill. Doctor.
Joe. Joe apparently didn't know whether or not it was the right thing to do. And it sounds like Jill Biden, who, remember, went to the trial every day in Delaware. It sounds like she was saying, hey, come on.
She said, of course, I support the pardon of my son.
Well, it looks like
it was definite in June.
Someone is trying to salvage the Democratic Party. I mean, this just makes them look bad. Their entire
Salvage
campaign.
or salvage?
Well, take your pick.
Joe Biden savaged it.
Just take your pick on it. Senator Joe Manchin says they should just pardon Trump. Let's watch it.
We do have a soundbite.
Okay.
Stand by.
I want to add this, too. Okay.
What I would have done differently, my recommendation as a council would have been, why don't you go ahead and pardon Donald Trump for all his charges and make it, you know, it'd have gone down a lot more balanced, if you will. I'm just saying, wipe them out.
James Comer says, next, look for his brother. And you have to pardon his brother. His brother's all over this, trading on the family name for 20 years.
I honestly think their superstition that Trump they just got it all wrong. There was no plan to go after the Bidens. He's the type of person, just like a UFC fight, once he's beaten you, he's done. He's done. The fight is over, and he's moves on. He made it very clear that he wasn't going to go after the Bidens. So this fear that they have, they're kind of telling on themselves. I mean, to retroactively pardon him years later and then to do it right before Burisma, I mean...
In 2014.
Right. Yeah. But it's not just retroactive, it's proactive.
Yes, exactly.
He's pardoning him for stuff that he's been convicted of, but not sentenced. But he is also got the get out of jail free card for anything that happened during that time. And we were talking yesterday with one of the legal experts, and it's like, how long do we wait before he issues a blanket pardon for the entire family? And they said the meter is running because ultimately Joe Biden has that superpower and he can do it. The question is, does he feel there is peril for his family to the point where he's got to do that? his own party is really PO'd at him.
There have been a lot of Democrats that have come out too against this and said he shouldn't have done it. And I like what Representative Greg Stanton, Democrat from Arizona, what he said. He says this wasn't a politically motivated prosecution. Hunter committed felonies and was convicted by a jury of his peers. Because now they're saying he's in this position not because he actually broke the law. He's in this position because I'm the president and this is my son and I put him in this position and he's singled out because of who I am.
International Business Deal said he was linked to. He forgot to continue that sentence, but he was in a rush. The plane was running, Angola was calling, and he had to get out of there. And that's going well, too. He forgot to address Africa for 4 years. China's taken it over.